Welcome to Law Excellence Hindu News Analysis. Today we are going to cover these topics that are appeared in the Hindu newspaper. Now coming to the first article. Now this article is saying that citizens with disabilities making their rights real. Now what is the context of the news? The context of the news is today December 3 is International Day of Persons with Disability. Now this day is celebrated to ensure that people have awareness about the rights of the disabled persons and also their problems that are faced so that there is a social sensitization to ensure the public participation in the mainstream society. Now, this is what the context of the news. Now, this article is saying that what is the legal framework that is available in India to ensure that these rights of disabled people are ensured, and there are certain challenges or limitations in providing their rights. That is what mentioned in this article. We will discuss this from the mains perspective. Now, why this article is very important? Yes, this article is very important. Now, if you see the previous year questions, especially in GS2, these disabled people are comes under the vulnerable sections of the society. Now, vulnerable sections are part of the GS paper 2 syllabus. There are previous year PYQs that were asked in GS paper 2 alternatively here about the rights of persons with disability. Now, if you see this question, it is said that Rights of Persons with Disability Act of 2016 is mere just a legislation without intense sensitization of government officers and public. And this is what the question is saying. Now, in this context, this article is very important. Now, this article is saying that social inclusion of persons with disabilities with adequate rights is inevitable for the inclusive and sustainable development of India. Now, in this context, this article also mentions certain facts that are important that you can use in your mains examination. Now, it is being said that as per the 2011 census of India, person with disability constitutes around 2.21% in India. Now, it is said that this data is underestimated because these are just reported. As per the survey conducted in collaboration with WHO, it has been said that 16% of adults in India have some or other forms of disabilities. Now this is considered as a social problem. Okay. Now, in this context, to address the problems, India also ratified the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So, as an outcome of ratifying what India will do, India will also come up with a law in alignment with the global conventions. Right now, India has come up with a law that is Rights of Person with Disability Act of 2016. Now, if at all any question asked in prelims, they will ask that it replaced the earlier Person with Disabilities Act of 1995. Yes, it is true. So, you can remember this from prelims perspective. Now, under this act, there is a provision for the creation of State Commissioner for Disabilities at the state level. Yes, this 2016 Act provided for an office of State Commissioner for Disabilities. Now, this is a statutory office created under this law. Okay, they look after the disabled people about their rights, welfare schemes that are provided. Any human rights violations are happening at the both personal level and public level. So they have a powers of and functions such as reviewing, monitoring the legislations, human rights violations. They have a quasi-judicial functions in which the procedures that are conducted under this process are considered as a judicial proceedings. They function as a civil court. These are the powers that are given under this Rights of Person with Disabilities Act 2016. Okay. In UPSC means you may ask what are the functions and powers of the this Rights of Person with Disabilities Act, things like that. Okay, you can mention all these things. They have the power to intervene the suo motu to identify and inquire any policy. Now there are criticisms also because it is been said that there is intention for the government and central government or public institutions to address the problems of the disabled people, but there is lack of implementation. Like there, for example, it has been said there is power to suo motu identify and inquire about the government policies and measures, but there is no questioning of the government because it has been said that there are a lot of problems, especially in accessing infrastructure, especially for disabled people. There are instances it has been said that even in the airports also there is a lack of wheelchairs, there are a lack of proper ramps for disabled people at the government offices, the many government offices, especially in the backward areas, things like that. So, in this context, we will discuss certain challenges and measures given in this article. This article mainly mentions the challenges or limitations of the state commissioners at the state level. Now, it is being said that there is a delay in appointment. Now, it is being said that the state commissioners are not appointed in some of the states that is mentioned in this article. Now, another important thing is manner in which the commissioners are appointed. Now, it is being said that more than half of the commissioners appointed are appointed from the civil services or bureaucrats. Now, actually, the recommendation is that the commissioner should be from the civil society organization, those who are aware about the law, human rights, and civil society and vulnerable sections, things like that. But mostly the government is appointing civil servants. Now, it affects the impartial and independent functioning of the office, right? As the main function of the state commissioners is to review the policies of the government. Now, if there are civil servants, they will toe the lines of the government, right? They will support the government only, they cannot question. Hence, this affects the accountability and independent functioning, right? Now, Because of this, there is no questioning of the office, hence there is erosion of faith in these statutory offices, especially regarding vulnerable sections. Right. Another challenges that are faced by these vulnerable sections is lack of inclusivity in various types of services provided by the government or in the private sector. Now it is being said, some of the challenges identified are, now we have many entertainment services provided. For example, we have OTT platforms. We used to watch cricket, right? But it is being, we used to see news channels also. Now it is being said that there is no proper sign language that are provided. Now this is challenging for vulnerable section. For example, if a person is not able to hear, right, not able to speak, now how they can enjoy all these services? So hence there is saying that we need sign languages in the news channels like foreign countries. Now another important thing is education. For example, there are blind people, how they can access this digital revolution or digital content. Hence there is a need of using AI to convert the text into audio. Now this is one of the limitations that is available in the present education, right? Now another thing is infrastructure. Just now we mentioned that we need things like ramps. Now if you remember that there is a scheme called Accessible India, especially to address this problem, right? Next, social participation. Now it is being said that often these people with disabilities are hesitate to participate socially, and people has also have stigma to ensure their inclusion, things like that. And people also question their recruitment in particular offices, right? Even in recent, there is a controversy that a IAS officer commented on the credibility of recruiting physically disabled people into the Indian administrative service, things like that. Okay, they are happening. Hence, all these things are social problems. Now, certain measures given by this article are, it has been said that if at all an officer that is overlooking about this issues or challenges faced by this disabled people, they should be women. Why women? Because women know the intersectional forms of discrimination that the society is facing. Now, for example, it has been said that women are more vulnerable, especially if the woman has disability. Now, this article also mentioned that we need to ensure a poverty aspect. Why? Because poor people with disability are more challenging or facing more challenges. Because if they are elites and influential people or prosperous people, they can handle this disability. Example, for example, they can have assist to technology, right? Assist to bands or any equipment that they can buy. So poverty further reinforces this disability. Now, this is also mentioned in this. Now, this article also mentioned that there is a need of interacting consistently with persons with disabilities and their respective organizations by the state commissioners, because to understand the problems at reality at the ground level. This is mentioned in this article. Now, there are certain case studies mentioned in this article. It has been said that in Karnataka, state commissioners are interacting with the law schools, collaborated with the legal experts to strengthen the respective capacities of the state commissioners. Yes, and next it is being said that there is a need of looking into the complaints of especially human rights violations of disabled people and dispose them of expeditiously and timely manner to improve the trust. Right now, there is a need of establishing mobile adalats and mobile courts. Now it is being said that sometimes the disabled people are relegated from the homes; they are thrown out of the home because of the social lack of social acceptance and lack of social honor and things like that. Okay. And another case study that is mentioned that in certain states, such as in Karnataka, this article mentioned that there is a need of designating district magistrates as a deputy commissioners for person with disabilities. Now, why it is being said that? So that there is a sense of accountability, right? In another important case study that is seen is that there is a need of establishing district disability management review, so that whatever the laws, constitutional provisions, or any welfare schemes that are there, so that they can be reviewed its efficient functionality, right? They can be questioned. And finally, this article also mentioned about the research. Now it is being said that there is a need of doing research that how climate change affecting the disabled people, how poverty and lack of social protection affecting disabled people, how care economy affecting disabled people. Why? Because now it is being said that the disabled women are continue to do the household chore. Now it is being said that if the woman is disabled, such as a deaf, dumb, things like that, most of the times they are limited themselves to the household chore and enormously exploited. Okay. That is what mentioned in this article. Now these are the measures. Now you can use these points in your answers. Okay. Have note of these points. Now coming to the next article. Now this article is saying that logjam ends Parliament to debate Constitution. Now what is the context of the news? You know that recently winter parliamentary sessions are started, but those sessions are started, but they are adjourned. Why they are adjourned? Because of the continuous protest of the opposition. So now the central government, the ruling party in power, that is in power, accepted that we will conduct the discussion. You can raise the questions in 0 hour. Now this is the context of the news. Now because of this logjam ends. Okay. Now how this article is relevant from the examination perspective. Now you know that there is a concept called in Article 75. It is being said that Parliament accountability is maintained by questioning the ministers by raising the issues in the Parliament. Right. Now questioning is happening in the question hour. right? Rising issues are happening in the 0 hour. Now, we don't go into the debate of what is opposition is saying or what ruling party is saying, but we will link to the sum of things from the examination perspective. Now, 0 hour is very important from the examination perspective because earlier there are questions asking about the adjournment and things like that. Okay, now we will know from the prelims perspective certain facts about the 0 hour. Now, from the mains perspective, it is important because there are repeatedly questions are asking about Parliament's accountability. To now, if we see this previous year question, what is asking here? To what extent, in your view, the Parliament is able to ensure accountability of the executive in India? Right now, 0 hour that is mentioned in this article is one of the tools that is used for ensuring accountability of the executive in India. Right now, we will see certain aspects regarding the 0 hour. Now, before that, as I said before, Article 75 is saying that Council of Ministers, that means executive, is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Now, in the context of this article, it is the 0 hour is emerged, right? Now, from the plain's perspective, please remember that 0 hour is Indian parliamentary innovation. It is neither mentioned in the rules of procedure of Lok Sabha nor in the constitution. Okay, in 0 hour, you can raise the matters without any prior notice. In question hour, you have to give your prior notice, right? Now, 0 hour commences directly after the question hour and extends until the commencement of the day's agenda. Right now, these are the things you have to remember from the plain's perspective. Okay, you can use 0 hour as an example in the mains question also. Okay, things like that. Now, we will move to the next article. Now, this article is saying that India's One Nation, One Subscription Plan. Now, what is the context of the news? You know that recently Union Cabinet approved One Nation, One Subscription Plan to ensure that Indian students, academic professors, scientists get scholarly published journals at affordable cost. Now, this is the context of the news. Now, for this, 6,000 crores are allocated for the next 3 years. Now, already we discussed about this One Nation, One Subscription in our previous videos. Now, I will just address what is mentioned in this news article. Now, this article is saying that it appreciated that India's plan of One Nation and One Subscription because this democratized the access of scientific knowledge irrespective of the institution, because there is institutional divide in India. That is because in India, research process is mainly limited to the elite institutions such as IITs and things like that. And accordingly, funds and equipments are available there only, even publishing journals also. So, and also this article mentioned that India, that is either institutions or publics, common public, are spending around 1,500 crores of money in purchasing these journals. Now, this is just what is data that is there. Now, there are underreported data, it mutually lead to 2,000 crores. Now, this is what the spending. Now, this is an economic burden for the people. Now, the government is saying that there are certain other publishing articles that are not accessible to India. Now, we will ensure that a lot of scholarly articles from the across the quality higher education institutions of other countries will be available to of India. Now, this is the context. Now, this author is saying that yes, it is appreciable that now the information or scholarly published journals are democratized, but there are certain challenges that is mentioned in this article. Now, this article is saying that we need to have some efforts parallelly to ensure that authors retain copyright. This is mentioned in this article. What is meant by this? Now, it has been said that once an article is published, now how this article is used, where it is being dispersed or distributed, entirely depends on the published platform. Hence, there is no transparency, right? Now, this is one thing the article is saying. Another thing is lack of publishing infrastructure in India. Now, it is being said that once we have subscribed and once we have access to all this information, now where we will store this data? Now, there is no information regarding this because we are depending on the publishing platforms such as, for example, let's say, if I want to say any example, like there is a journal called Nature, right? And things like that. So we have to depend on the data storage. Now, hence, this can be challenging. Now, another important thing is digital content. Now, hence, everything is there in digital. Now, what is the issue of copyrights, now how they are protected, how they are used, and things like that. Now, another important and major thing that is mentioned in this article is open access. See, it is being said that open access of information is future, right? Scientific information should be available to even the common people also to ensure that rationality in the society regarding scientific knowledge. Now, if open access is future, then why India is unnecessarily spending a lot of money in this One Nation and One Subscription Plan? Now, this article is mentioned that at maximum this spending of money is maybe useful for 2025. That means 1 year from now, because within next 2 to 3 years, a lot of countries, especially countries like in Europe, there is a Horizon Europe program, and in also there is another scheme that is there in the US also, in which it is being saying that majority of the published scientific journal should be accessible to public freely. That is called open access. Now, there are schemes that are being brought in Europe and USA, things like that. Now, if the world is moving to the open access, now we need subscriptions like this and spending like this. No, this is an unnecessary or spending, okay, but India is going backwards now. Things like that, these are saying. Now, these are the things that are mentioned in this article. Now, where you can use in this article. Now, this is very important, linking to the exam. Now, you can link this exam or this article to the exam in GS paper 1, GS paper 2, and GS paper 3. Now, where you can use in GS paper 2? In GS paper 2, there are questions about quality of higher education institutions that are challenges, limitations are asking in previous years. Now, you can say that there are issues of lack of citations of India's journals in the international level. There, you can use the scheme of one nation, one substance plan can be in the right direction, things like that. In GS paper 3, where you can use, there is a syllabus point called issues of IPR, intellectual property rights. Now, this is the syllabus topic, right? Now, there you can use that one of the scheme as a measure. Now, one nation, one subscription is one of the measure to promote the IPR and things like that, okay? Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that new crimes, old tools. Now, what is the context of the news? Recently, a conference of Director Generals of Police was happened. Now, in this context, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed and said that fraudsters in the cybercrime, they do not have fear of prosecution. They must be put on notice. Now, this is what they're saying. There are certain points highlighted by the Prime Minister that you can use in the questions like e-governance in GS paper 2 and GS paper 3 cyber security. Now, Prime Minister mentions at a point that there is increasingly number of cases regarding digital frauds, and there are increasing cases of defamation, especially through the non-consensual intimate deepfakes that are happening. Now, common people are very much creating anxiety. Now, there are increasing cases of digital frauds in which common people are losing money, their hard-earned money. Now, this is a major threat that is plaguing the society in the present moment. Now, this has been said that Prime Minister said this is not merely a work of financially desperate individuals. Now, they represent a new class of criminals. Now, this is saying that this is a new criminal digital mindset. This is a new criminal digital mindset. That is what said by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It is being said that they have a lot of skills and a lot of tools to do this, all these things. Now, these skills can be used to get employment and earn money in a different way, but still they are using in uh, doing the digital frauds. Now, this is what mentioned by the Prime Minister. Now, it is being said that there is a lack of fear of prosecution because of the anonymity that is present in these crimes. Because as you know that getting their identity is very important to prosecute them, but it is difficult to find their identity because of the anonymity in nature, right? Another important thing is the major way or the major measure that we have to take is alerting the public repeatedly, creatively, and patiently. Now, public awareness is very important because digital crimes are very pervasive in nature that government only cannot control. There is a need of public awareness so that they themselves can prevent certain issues and fall prey into them and things like that. Hence, this is what mentioned that Narendra Modi, that responsibility of the public too. There is a responsibility of the public too, that to prevent this digital content. Now, it is being said that if there is any fraudsters doing malicious content in the social media also, it is a public responsibility that to report the content. Now, things like that are mentioned. Now, Prime Minister also mentioned that the present telecom infrastructure is very vulnerable in nature. It is not prepared because the fraudsters and cybercrime criminals are very much advanced. So, present telecom infrastructure is ill prepared to take these overwhelming calls of messages from the malicious fraudsters. Now, this is what the context of the news. Now, where you can use, just now I said, in GS paper 3, you can use this cyber security question. Now, you can say use these words like vulnerable telecom infrastructure as a key. These are the things are the keywords. Now, responsibility of the public to public awareness and things like that. Now, new class of criminal digital mindsets or digital criminal mindset, things like that. These are the keywords that you can use. Okay. Now, coming to the next article. Now, what is this article is saying? Now, this article is saying that Oxford study lots Pragati system for fast tracking the projects. Now, this is the context of the news. Now, how this article is important? Now, Pragati is an infrastructure monitoring system for accelerating the projects. Now, it is a information and communication technology tool or framework that is used or created by the Prime Minister office to ensure that the projects, especially infrastructure projects and welfare schemes, are fast tracked, are implemented timely manner. Okay, this is directly monitored by the Prime Minister. Now, how Prime Minister will monitor? Now, weekly there will be conducting of a meeting or a conference digitally in which state chief secretaries and secretaries of the particular ministries are there in this, and Prime Minister will question them based on any complaints or ground level situation. Okay, now this is what the about the tool is Pragati. What is meant by Pragati? Pragati means proactive governance and accelerated implementation of the project. Okay. Now, how this article is important? Yes, it is important. Now, if you see in JS paper 2, it is clearly mentioned that e-governance as a syllabus topic. Now, how e-governance will enable the transparency and accountability. Now, this is right. Now, another important thing is that this article clearly mentions certain keywords that you can use in your mains JS paper 2. Right? This article mentioned that Prakati system symbolizes India's commitment in overcoming the bureaucratic inertia. Now, this is bureaucratic inertia overcoming is very important. Why? Because there is a syllabus topic again clearly mentioned in JS paper 2, that role of civil service in democracy. Right, there are questions asking about the challenges in bureaucracy in India, right? Now just see the previous year question in GS paper 2. It clearly asks that e-governance as a critical tool of governance has ushered in effectiveness, transparency and accountability in governments. Okay, what inadequacies hamper the enhancement of these features? Now in this case, as an example of e-governance, you can use Pragati, right? Pragati as a scheme. Now what this article is saying, first of all, now in this study it is being mentioned that Pragati scheme lead to fast tracking of the projects. Now it is being said that because of which it lead to accelerating of around 340 projects worth of $205 billion across the country. Now this lead to increasing transparency and accountability in India. Right, now this article is lauded. Now this article is said that based on its study, it found that every rupee that India is spending now, there is a seen in the gain of around 2.5 to 3.5 rupees in the GDP. Hence, it's creating efficiency, right? Now, this article is saying that because of this Pragati system of e-governance, India will lead to inclusive and sustainable development. Now, how there is ease of governance and ease of doing business also, and ease of living. Now, how it is? Now, see, inclusive can be achieved through, as it is a digital governance. It is accountable. Now, in this case, the directly Prime Minister himself questioned the officers because of the delays, any delays in the project. Now, as Prime Minister himself is directly involved, there is a transparency because there is an interministerial coordination, right? Directly questioning, and it ensures last mile connectivity. Now, how it is sustainable? Because of this digital project, if there is any delays in getting clearances, they can adequate clearances can be in terms of, for example, any land acquisition or environment clearances. Now, all this can be facilitated through this project monitoring system, that is Pragati, right? Now, these are the things that are mentioned in this news article. Okay, now we will see certain things about Pragati so that you can mention in GS paper 2, right? Just now I said that Pragati is a information and communication technology based platform for proactive governance and timely implementation of the projects, right? There are chief aims of the Pragati platform is, now you can use these points in the mains examination: project implementation, project monitoring, and grievance redressal of anyone if there is anyone complaining, right? Another thing is that this platform have digital data management, video conferencing. Just now I said Prime Minister directly have video conferences with the state level chief secretaries. Geospatial technology, that is the projects that are implementing will be tagged digitally, right? Now, this platform bring together different secretaries of the government of India and state chief secretaries along with the Prime Minister. Now, these are the things you have to remember from the mains perspective. You can use these points, right, to overcoming the bureaucratic inertia, project implementation, and project monitoring in the e-governance. Okay. Now, coming to the next article. Now, what this article is saying? This article is saying that factory activity expansion index slips to 11-month low of 56.5 in November. Now, this article is saying that purchasing manager index indicated that there is decreasing private industrial activity. Now, this is the context of the news. Why purchasing manager index is very important. Now, UPSC has a habit of asking questions regarding any index, especially regarding the economy, right? If you see this previous year PYQ, especially 2015 PYQ, it is said that in the index of 8 core industries, which one of the following is given the highest weightage? Now, things like that. Any index that is related to the industries and particularly economy, UPSC has a habit of asking. Now you have to know in this context what is purchasing manager index from the fluence perspective. Now certain, you can use this index in the mains also regarding the performance of manufacturing, because the purchasing manager index measures the manufacturing and service sectors performance in the economy. Right, now this is the context of the news. Now the news is saying that there is decrease in the score in the index, especially for India, from around 58 to presently 56.5. Now this indicates the decreasing the economic activity. Now this article also mentioned that there is a ray of hope in the coming days. Why there is a ray of hope? Because now there is a seen slightly increasing the demand of India's exports. Why? In the coming days there is a festival season, that is Christmas season, especially in the Western countries. Now Christmas is a festival season, hence there is increasing demand of goods. Now, because of which there is a chance of increasing exports. Now, this is the ray of hope that is said in this article. Now, this is the context, right? Okay. Now, from the examination perspective, you have to know that S&P Global is the one that conducts the PMI surveys. Okay. Remember, it is not any major organization such as IMF or things like that forum. Okay. They are not this. It's just S&P Global which conducts the PMI surveys. Now, this is compiled by the one of the organizations that we will learn in the next slide. Okay, just now we mentioned the purchasing managers index provide information about the current and future business conditions to the company decision makers, analysts, and investors. Now this tells about the perception of the economy and manufacturing and service activities in countries, not just in India, in countries, many other countries. Now the rating is from 0 to 100. Now it is been said that if it is printed above 50, there means expansion of manufacturing or activity, economic activity. If score below means this is denotes contraction. Okay, now it is means that the PMFI of previous month is higher than PMI of current month. It represents economy is contracting. Now it is usually released at the start of every month. Remember this from the plains perspective, right? Now it is been said that it's calculated separately for the both manufacturing and service sectors. Okay, and then a composite index is constructed. Now it is compiled by the IHS market. Now IHS market is part of S&P Global. Now these two are nothing but information analytics firms. Okay, they are the information analytics firms. Firms means companies. Okay, that's all you have to remember from the plains perspective. Okay, now coming to the next article. Now what this article is saying? This article is saying that government scraps windfall tax on domestic crude oil export of fuels. Now this is the context of the news. Now why this article is important, especially knowing what is meant by the windfall tax is very important from the prelims perspective. Why? Now, if you see previous year questions, UPSC has a habit of asking certain key terms, economic terms that are mentioned in the news. Right? For example, if you see these previous year questions, it is asked that the term West Texas Intermediate, sometimes found in the news, it refers to which of the following. Now, this is the context. Now, it is refers to crude oil. Like that, this windfall tax can also be asked. Now, you have to know that why this was in the news. Now, it has been said that this government scrapped 30-month-old windfall tax on domestically produced crude oil and export of jet fuel. Now, what is meant by the first of all windfall tax? Because you see, there is a supernormal profits that are earned by the energy companies. Why? Because of the global supply chain disruptions that are happening. There is increasing prices of the crude oil. Now, it is being said that when profit earned like this because of no any external economic activity conducted by these companies, it is purely because of the external factors. Right? Windfall tax is a tax levied by the governments on industries that experience unexpected or above average profits due to the external factors. Hence, it is not at all related to their company factors, right? It's because of that some disruptions that have happened, because of which they are earning a lot of money. No, because of this, government started taxing these extra profits. Now there is a criticism from the private sector also. Now it is being said that in COVID time there is a disruption of business, but government does not provide much incentives for the private companies. But now if they are getting profits, now you are taxing like windfall tax, this tax, that tax, things like that. Okay, this is a criticism. Now it is being said that because of this tax, government earned around 25,000 crore in the first year when it is started implementing in 2022. In the next year, that is around 13,000 crore. Now this year until this time, it is around 6,000 crore. Now this is what the context. Right? Now you have to just remember that windfall tax. What is the windfall tax? It is a tax levied by the government on industries if that companies are experiencing enormous profits due to the external factors, not internal factors. Internal factors means some factors or activities taken by the industry, but this profit is gained by the external factors. Okay, some disruptions happen at the global level. If to control that, government imposed tax. That tax is windfall tax. Now government scrapped it. Okay, this is the context of the news, and this is what the news you have to know from the prelims perspective. Now that's all for today. Thank you. I hope you liked it.